If you're hearing this, pay close attention. This isn't for everyone. Not everyone is ready for what comes next. Because what you're about to discover isn't ordinary. It's alchemy. Not the kind you read about in school books. The real kind. The kind that doesn't just change metal. It changes you. For centuries, this knowledge has been hidden in plain sight, cloaked in symbols, metaphors, and coded language. But not to keep it away from people. To protect it. Because not everyone is ready for what it reveals. But if you're here now, listening to this, it means something inside you already knows. Already feels that fire starting to burn. And that fire? It's the first sign. The invitation. Because alchemy doesn't seek the unprepared, it finds those who are already beginning to wake up. Negrito, the death of the old self. You've been through things most people wouldn't understand. Pain that didn't seem to end. Cycles that kept repeating. And now, maybe for the first time, it all makes sense. Those experiences weren't there to break you. They were there to forge you. Like raw metal must be burned in fire to become gold, your soul has been refined, trial by trial, for this exact moment. This is the turning point. This is where everything changes. The moment you step through the first portal. It's called Negrito, the death of the old self. And it's not just symbolic. It's real. This is where most people back out. Because crossing this portal doesn't mean physical death, it means letting go of everything you believed yourself to be. Your name. Your story. Your certainties. Your beliefs. All of it must crumble. So something new can rise. This is true alchemy. And it doesn't begin in light. It begins in chaos. You might already feel it, life falling apart, nothing making sense, old wounds flaring up stronger than ever. But listen closely, you're not being destroyed. You're being refined. This path isn't for everyone. It demands complete surrender. You cannot become something new while clinging to what you once were. Paracelsus was called mad. Newton obsessed over hidden texts and total isolation. Zosimos, the first Western alchemist, saw visions of his own body torn apart. Only to be reborn in divine fire. Are you afraid? Good. That fear is your threshold. Because once you step through this portal, there's no turning back. The second portal, Albedo, inner illumination. The chaos is past. But something inside you is still burning. You no longer feel like the same person. There's a strange stillness now, where certainty used to live. Your old identity? It's gone. Burned away by the fire of transformation. And all that remains is emptiness. But hear this, that emptiness is not a mistake. It's not a void. It's space. Space for something new to emerge. This is the second portal. Albedo. Inner illumination. The fire did its work. Now, the purification begins. But don't expect this part to feel peaceful, not right away. Before you can feel light, you must first learn to be with yourself. With nothing to hide behind. No distractions. No masks. No escape. This is where many turn back, not because they're weak, but because silence can be terrifying. But real silence? True silence? It's not just the absence of sound. It's the moment you finally stop running from yourself. It happens when you close your eyes. And face what's still inside, the fears. The doubts. The voices you thought were your own. But were never really yours. Have you ever noticed how your mind never stops? Thoughts. Memories. Judgments. Projections. It's relentless. It was designed to keep you distracted. But distraction doesn't work anymore. You've passed through fire. There's nothing left to hold on to. Now you have two choices, face your own consciousness. Or stay trapped in the echoes of the past. So you sit. You breathe. You observe. Not to silence the thoughts by force, but to witness them. And the more you observe, the more you realize, you are not your thoughts. You are not the voice in your head. You are not the trauma. You are not the fear. You are the one who observes it all. And in that realization, something shifts. A deep clarity arises. A weight lifts. This is purification. Not perfection. Not the end of negative thoughts. But the end of believing they define you. You are changing. You are remembering. So now the question is, are you ready to move forward? The third portal, alignment with universal truth. Clarity has arrived. But something still feels incomplete. You're not the same. Your thoughts have shifted. Your emotions don't react the way they used to. And now, you begin to wonder, what is real? You've crossed through chaos. You've endured the silence. And now, a deeper truth is beginning to unfold. This is the third portal. Alignment with universal truth. It's not just about inner transformation anymore. Now, the world around you starts to look different. Patterns emerge. Synchronicities intensify. What once seemed random now carries meaning. You look back at your life, and you see it, the signs were always there. The repetitions. The clues. The moments you couldn't explain. But your old mind wasn't ready to decode them. Now, it is. Because now, you're beginning to perceive the laws that govern the entire universe. The ancient masters understood these laws. Hermes Trismegistus recorded them as the 7 Hermetic principles, invisible forces that shape everything you experience. And now, you begin to feel them operating in your own life. The principle of mentalism, everything is mind. Matter. Time. Space. All of it emerges from consciousness. That means your reality is not fixed. It bends to the way you think. And the way you see. The principle of correspondence, as within, so without. Your inner world reflects in your outer world. Anger attracts conflict. Fear builds invisible walls. But peace? Peace opens paths that used to seem impossible. The principle of vibration, nothing is still. Everything is energy in motion. Your emotions, your thoughts, your words, all vibrate. And those vibrations attract more of the same. Scarcity draws limitation. Abundance invites opportunity. The principle of polarity, everything has its opposite. Hot and cold. Fear and courage. Love and hate. They're just ends of the same scale. Shift your position, and you shift your experience. The principle of rhythm, life moves in cycles. There are tides. Highs and lows. Expansion and contraction. Resisting this rhythm creates suffering. But understanding it? That's freedom. The principle of cause and effect, nothing happens by chance. Every thought, every action, has a ripple. The life you have right now is the effect of countless causes. And you created many of them, consciously or not. But here's the secret, change the cause. And the effect must follow. The principle of gender, every force has a masculine and feminine quality. These aren't about biology. They're about energy. Action and intuition. Creation and nurturing. When those are in harmony within you, your life begins to flow with a power that's unstoppable. Now, something else becomes clear, you don't just understand these laws. You feel them. In your body. In your mind. In your soul. This isn't theory anymore. This is alignment. And it changes everything. This is the 4th portal, the power of the word, and the materialization of reality. Ancient wisdom has always known this. In Egypt, they called it Heka, the magic of the spoken word. To speak was to create. To name something was to bring it into existence. But this isn't just myth or poetry. Modern science confirms it. Sound, vibration, changes matter. The frequency of a word can organize chaos. Or unravel harmony. Now ask yourself, how often have you used your words against yourself? How many times have you said things like, I never succeed. This is just who I am. My life is always hard. And then you wondered why the same patterns kept repeating. You weren't just describing your life. You were programming it. Words are blueprints. Spoken enough times, they become structure. Reality follows the script you speak aloud. Let me tell you a story. There was once a craftsman named Omar. A brilliant woodworker, admired by many. But every time he finished a piece, he would shake his head and say, this isn't good enough. Years passed. His hands created beauty. But his words destroyed it. Until one day, a traveler heard him and said, every word you speak is a strike against your own destiny. Something shifted. That night, Omar looked at his latest work and said, this is my best creation yet. He didn't believe it at first. But he said it again. And again. Days later, his hands worked with new precision. His art came to life. And soon, his work was known far beyond his village. What changed? Not the tools. Not the wood. It was the word. Now ask yourself again, what have you been saying about yourself? Because from this moment on, every word is a seed. Speak what you wish to see. Speak it with power. Speak it with truth. And the universe will answer. This is the 5th portal. The fusion of opposites. The balance between matter and spirit. You've seen how the outer world reflects the inner. But what's happening inside you now? Is there harmony? Or is there conflict? From the beginning, you were taught to divide yourself. To hide the parts that made others uncomfortable. To believe that fear was weakness. That sensitivity was fragility. That too much logic meant you weren't spiritual. And too much emotion meant you weren't strong. But here's the truth that alchemy has always known. Real power doesn't come from light or darkness alone. It comes from their fusion. There is no creation without destruction. No clarity without shadow. No wisdom without chaos. No strength without softness. True alchemy happens when opposites embrace. When you stop choosing sides within yourself. And start accepting all of who you are. In ancient traditions, this union was symbolized by the rebus, an androgynous figure, both masculine and feminine, whole within itself. It wasn't just a symbol. It was a state of consciousness. One where fire and water coexist. Where action and stillness walk side by side. And you don't have to choose between matter and spirit. You are both. You are the bridge. The universe moves in balance. Day and night. Sun and moon. Chaos and order. Doing and being. The more you resist your extremes, the more divided you feel. But when you begin to fuse those opposites, your power becomes unstoppable. So now comes the most important question of all. Can you love all parts of yourself? Even the ones you once rejected? The ones that felt too much? The ones you were told to hide? Because if the answer is yes, then you are ready. Ready to meet the one you've been moving toward this entire time. This is the sixth portal, the encounter with the inner master. Not a guide outside of you. Not a teacher or a guru. But you. The part of you that has always been there, watching, waiting, whispering beneath the noise. You've been taught your whole life to search. To chase wisdom. To collect knowledge. To seek someone else who knows better. But now you understand. No truth can be given. It can only be remembered. And this remembrance doesn't come from books, or rules, or someone else's truth. It comes from a silence that no longer feels empty. A silence that has become sacred. The ancient alchemists knew this. They hid their secrets in symbols, not to be mysterious, but to protect the sacred from those not ready to see it. Because those who aren't ready to understand won't. Hermes Trismegistus once said, "The lips of wisdom are closed, except to the ears of understanding." That understanding? It's awakening now, inside of you. The great masters, Jesus, Buddha, Lao Tzu, Socrates, they never wanted to be worshipped. They weren't asking you to follow them. They were pointing inward. To the place where you always held the answers. Carl Jung called this process individuation, the moment you become who you truly are. Unfiltered. Unprogrammed. Unbound. But how do you know when you've reached that moment? When you stop needing permission. When you no longer seek approval. When the voice inside you is louder than all the noise around you. And for the first time, you trust it. You see. You've been told who to be since the beginning. By society. By family. By culture. By fear. But who were you before the world told you what to be? That pure awareness. That inner master. Was always there. It just got buried under layers of expectation and fear. Now, those layers are gone. Now, you are beginning to remember. And something incredible is happening. The outer world begins to respond differently. Because you're no longer reacting, you're creating. You're not absorbing knowledge anymore. You're living it. Feeling it. Becoming it. And for the first time, you understand, I am the master I've always been searching for. This is the seventh portal, the Philosopher's Stone and the final illumination. For centuries, seekers chased this legendary stone. A mystical substance said to grant eternal life, infinite wealth, and ultimate power. They searched in caves, laboratories, sacred texts. But the real alchemists? They always knew the truth. The stone was never a thing. It was a state of being. The Philosopher's Stone is you, transformed, awakened, reborn. This final stage is called Albedo, the ascension of spirit. The moment when everything you've dissolved, purified, and balanced crystallizes into something entirely new. You are no longer waiting for life to change. You are the change. You're not hoping for power. You are the power. Your perception of reality is no longer the same. Your words carry weight. Your actions have alignment. Your energy vibrates on a frequency the old you could never hold. And now, the world responds to you differently. Opportunities appear. Doors open. Synchronicities line up like constellations. It's not magic. It's vibration, in action. You don't just understand the universal laws now. You embody them. You don't try to manifest. You manifest. But now comes the question that matters most, what will you do with this power? Because here's the final secret, the journey doesn't end here. Alchemy is a cycle, eternal, expanding, alive. There is no finish line. No mountaintop moment where it all stops. What once seemed like an ending is really a new beginning. Because transformation, once begun, cannot be undone. One who is seen cannot unsee. And now it's no longer about what you know. It's about how you live. You can't be a true alchemist in theory. You must become it in action. So how will you use what you've discovered? How will you live, now that you understand the laws of creation? How will you help others awaken, not by preaching, but simply by being? Because real illumination doesn't shout. It radiates. You don't need to convince anyone. Your energy will say it all. Some people will be drawn to you. Others will drift away. That's part of the process. A true alchemist doesn't seek acceptance. They simply are. So now, the choice is yours. Will you apply this wisdom? Or will you store it away like another forgotten book? The final lesson of alchemy is simple: anything not applied is lost. Transformation must be lived. Wisdom must be shared. And the next step? It isn't written. It's waiting to be created, by you. So, are you ready?